Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to take a look at the FAQ and then the brief plan for 2021 update. This is actually the most important FAQ, by the way, because for the past few weeks, a lot of things have happened. Common class has been canceled, and then IMC is actually reverting back some of the changes that they apply for automators, Koshir, and other classes that have been changed for the scouts, which is kind of upset a lot of people, especially for the KTS community, but also ITS community. Anyway, the first thing we are going to take a look at is actually the reorganization of the healer, which have been canceled. Now, because the healer cannot play a very specific content like Hard Morning Podia, Tell Harsha, and Wicked Boss Rate, even with the updated gears, are there any plan to kind of fix these issues or maybe kind of buff the healer so they'll be able to play this content in the future? And the team response is that if the team content is difficult for the hero, then the player should be able to clear it with a DPS build at a lower cost. So what does this mean is that you actually can just build a DPS character and be able to clear the content even with a low gear investment. To be honest, this is fine because healer is supposed to be a healer and they're supposed to be a support class and not a class that be able to clear in-game content by themselves. Now, if you think about it, healer is supposed to be a support class that keep the party alive as much as possible. I also understand the fact that there are certain classes that be able to heal but also DPS at the same time. For example, like Crusaders that have the ability to heal every time they cast his skills, and then there's a Plat Doctor that capable of healing themselves but also healing the whole party itself with a skill called Healing Factor. So either way, it's really situational on this topic, by the way, because you cannot have healer be able to do all in-game content by themselves because they are a support class. Now, the next question is pretty straightforward. Does the answer to the previous question mean that you have to make a TPS build instead of a healer since they cannot play individual content? And the answer is yes. This is why they planned for the healer class adjustment, but since they have changed the character-based casual content, it has been cancelled, aka common class build. Now, because IMC canceled the common class build, they are planning to release one new class per month. And the next question is going to kind of focus on that statements. I think having one class per month is way too much. The new class is good, but please pay more attention to the extended and current class. And their response was, we are going to have one catcher per month or the remake of the existing class once the reorganization is done. It is not only releasing a new class, but include the remake of the existing class. To be honest, having one new class per month is way too much in my opinion, because if you think about it, the new players have to try to catch up with the mechanic, with the strategy, with the skill build for that new class. And as for the current player who actually have a lot of experience with the game, they can easily figure it out really probably like a week or so, and then they'll put the skill builds online. But for the new player, I think this is way too much burdens. They'll get burned out right away because they're trying to learn all the mechanic, learn all the content at the same time. But if anything, they did a little bit transparencies on the new class, but also remake of the existing class and the current class. So that is actually really good, by the way. Next is going to be Will Alchemist Homunculus returns, and the team response is that we will look into the skill that has been deleted in the past. At the same time, there are many gaps in plenty, making it difficult to raise the degree of completion. Thus, it was deleted by choice and concentration. So I don't know why they said that, because to be honest, they could have kept the skills. But I kind of understand at the same time, because Alchemist is probably the most underused class in Tree of Savior. All you have to do is using Alchemist to craft potion, to craft materials, and a bunch of other stuff with alchemist skills. If anything, they should put more attention on this class, because alchemist could be really good in the open field content in the future if they ever plan to remake the class or rework the class. Now, the next question is gonna focus more on the Scout Dagger buffs, which apply for Ragnar, Shinobi, and other classes that cannot be applied. Now, the question is, do they have any plan to adjust this in the future? And the team response is that we will change it to when attacking while Dagger is equipped to make sure all the weapon skill can receive the appropriate buffs. On to the next question. This is probably the best question in this Q&A, by the way, in my own opinions, because it's focused on the algorithmic based system, which caused a lot of trouble and problem in the party place. Now, this person suggests 4 different options. The first option is going to be removing provoke immediately. The second option, receiving a buff and debuff by moving each group organically with the gimmicks. And the third option is going to be changing Argo in response to a very specific skill in the distance in the pattern. And then fourth, the Tinker taking away the Argo again. Now, this person has a really good idea, because I think the most important aspect of the tank is be able to keep the boss on the tank the whole time. And Swordsman is probably the best class to be able to do that because they have a skill called Liberator, which generate a lot of threat. However, if the DPS be able to out DPS the tanker while they generate the threat against the boss, then the boss might focus on the DPS, with kind of ruling one of the aspects of the mutation part in the hard more important party play. Now, to give you guys a perspective how mutation work, usually the tanker doesn't get mutated and then DPS get mutated along with the party member. Now with that, if the DPS get mutated, then the tanker have to run all the way to the water party member to get cleansed from mutation, otherwise they will lose poison stack. Anyway, going to the team respawn, they say it is a great idea. It is similar to what they aimed for the healer reorganized before it was cancelled. However, they will refer to it. On to the next question, can you divide the balance of PvP and PvE? And the response is that we will divide the balance of PvP. We are currently adjusting separate skill pacification and guild territory war, which is the most important PvP context. Next, is there any plan to implement dancer class? They said we will consider it as an idea when releasing new character class. So it would be pretty interesting, by the way. We might be able to see something very similar to Dragoness Kali's, one of the dancer class in Dragoness. Next, please consider new user when creating new account, team level 1, keep a die when hitting 14 tab, then in level increase get attention from variety of monster and become incapable of combat. Are you aware of this issue? And the team respond, we have got to the point it's extremely difficult to play before loading the first skill. We will take action as soon as possible. So I don't know what kind of problem this is, because I think this is where when you level up and you have this huge area aura exploded and it hit multiple monsters in the field. So I think at this point it's where the new player doesn't understand the situation, where they pull this majority of the Argo monster and start standing there and getting kills. I don't know. So I guess there could be a problem in one way or another, but yeah. Next question, do you have any plan to diversify invisible and mobility skill by classes? Because there are a lot of limit when playing the content except for some classes. And the team respond, it is true that invisible skill is not fairly distributed among the class and that its usability is high. We will consider it as important when working on the balance patches. This is a good to know, by the way, because cleric need a mobility skill when doing hard more important. Because there are only a few cleric classes that be able to escape the swap mechanic. The first one is going to be the Zealot Teleportation, BDI, and the second one is going to be Kabbalah's Will. If anything, we used to have a Shadow Teleportation skill, which is really useful to escape the swap mechanic. But as of right now, those are the only two classes that be able to, I guess, escape the swap mechanic. The next question is kind of like a follow-up from the previous question. Don't you think every class should be able to invade the patterns with a proper invisible skill or mobility skills? And the team response is that for the future raids, pattern that cannot be invaded without invisible skill won't appear again, which is really good, by the way. On to the next question. This is probably one of my favorite, by the way. Please bring back the healing floor. And the team response was, we agree that the healing floor was one of the most attractive point in Trio Saver in the past. However, this method bring a lot of load even now that managed optimization have been made through the 64-bit update. The concept of healing floor will be implemented via new class or class reorganization other than the current clicks after appropriate optimization they design. Oh my goodness. So now that they mentioned that they are going to bring the healing floor back with the new classes, or maybe like reorganization or reward balance for the cleric classes, this is actually going to be pretty big. We're going to have some huge major healing floor in the future. So if anything, I'm looking forward to. Are there any plans for adjustment of installation classes such as core shooter, sapper, and deputies? And their response was, we do have planned, but the pilot paths will proceed in order by our classes. The order have yet been set, and so the installation classes. So I guess they do have planned for it, but it's going to be pretty far away, if anything, because we are getting some changes for the scout classes, for the cleric classes, and some majority of other classes as well. If anything, I do really love to see a deputy classes that be able to grab a, I guess, a owl statue that fly around the deputies. So we have a some kind of summoning hybrid with deputies. If anything, they should have mentioned the druid class as well, because druid does have a plant summoning, and that would be really nice, by the way. Be able to bring the grass close to your catcher every single time and walking around summoning the plant, or maybe having a deputy statue just flying around your catcher. That would be pretty fun in my opinion. Enchanter, Thermometer, Linker, it changes scouts, but there are still wizard in the TOS world. Costume are close to wizard, which is irrelevant to scout. Please also select the minor appearance and change in a concept that's suitable for scout even slightly. Their response: we will perfect the class with probability via class adjustment in the future. I don't know, because they kind of, I guess, re-rolled the class back to the original form. So anything that they changed with the scout has been rolled back. If anything, I'm going to cover that later on. On to the next question: the supports organization and uncommon class is a separate content, and the example you have shown are mostly about support class organization. Why do you have to cancel both of them? I was against the healer and support class organization, but I was looking for to the common class. And the response from the development team is that the development team believe that there is a lot of content and reorganized elements that it must be present with higher quality than the current Tree of Saver. They have canceled the common class because it wasn't a necessary system but had a lot of risk factor. The development team also doesn't think that the concept of common class itself is wrong, so it could proceed someday but not now. If anything, I think the biggest risk factor is actually the class identity. We don't know how it's going to turn out, especially for the clerics deputies. If clerics deputies is accessed by our classes, then that is not a unique anymore. This is just my opinions, but if anything, I cannot imagine having 5 deputies in just a single party just because everybody want a quota reduction in the build. So yeah, there's a class identity issue right here. Runecaster giant attribute is limited only to Runecaster itself. I wonder what is the reason is. Due to the property of the engine used in Diversify Saver, all the effect and hit point are not automatically adjusted according to the scale changes. Thus, there is a difficulty in doing this one by one, since it is difficult not only to manage existing skills, but also maintain them at the work. It has been limited to the skill of the Runecaster only. Rather than focus on the balancing that is difficult to match, do you have any plan to release a class tree chain voucher? Class chain function was created for cards after the rebuild update, not for the regular system. Thus, it is expected that there is a high possibility of bugs occurring at this time. Because it is risky to sacrifice something to add an unstable feature, there are no plan at the moment. After the update of the goddess system, the hurdle for new characters developments will come down, and we think this will be helpful to the problem indirectly. Will Pied Piper or Appraiser be rollback? Seem like they were well organized. The rollback of the support class is not a fast process. Some classes will remain largely unchanged in their current stage, and some will almost go back to their previous status. When will Alchemist Gym roasting speed be reorganized? We will process on it as soon as possible. Next question: it is a little sad that the production class has been advanced once and is being completely abandoned. And the team respond: we agree, Sandy production class are in the village. Synergy with the class competition system cannot occur at all, and it is difficult to make any connection related to the battle in the future. So we think it would be nice to have this feature separate from the class composition system. However, as the current roadmap being settled first, it is difficult to confirm any changes in the near future. And then we have the last question for the class balance. I suggest increasing basic attack. Currently, we are too dependent on skills, and the team response: as the balance patch was repeated for a long time, inflation of the skill factor occurred, and now in addition of basic attack with the DPS at the level of attack skill, Limicon, Running Shot, Binacio, Moods, Boron, etc. 100% basic attack had no practical meaning. Specialized basic attacks such as limit count are performed that only achieved by investing extra skill point, as well as investing in enhanced attributes and enhanced upgrade through the art that you cannot just increase basic attack like these. Now, just in case, I'm not a champion or a SR main, but I do want to point a few things out. Auto attack build is a very unique entry of Saver. I think most MMORPG does not have this kind of aspect in the game where you just use auto attack. But if anything, SR auto attack is probably the most regular aspects of the auto attack concept, because you move around and you auto attack at the same time, which is really nice, by the way. The LE damage is not as big as Champlain, because Champlain auto attack is super big once you get a Vibora. And compared to the two, they both utilize added damage status. Now, the added damage status is super broken because they can actually ignore the defense. So if you're doing the Holy Reddit dungeon for normal version but also a hard version, you can just run Champlain or S-Stars with added damage, and you can completely wipe up the whole map by yourself. Not to mention the fact that Weekly Boss Rate and Joint Straight Boss have the defense specialty. So if they have that specialty, Champlain and then SR is probably the only classes that gonna increase that damage output as high as possible. On to the item and supplies category, the first question is going to be: I am very curious about the direction of the Holy Reddit Gym in PvE. Please let me know if you have any plan to make adjustment or not. And the team response is actually really interesting, by the way. It is true that the proportion of the attack that the Holy Relic Gems has is very high. Since the goddess equipment is a weapon and armor of a high level and rank, the default value is set higher than the current level 440 legends, which is Glacier and I guess this night. We cannot suddenly make the Holy Relic stage smaller, but at least it will be relatively smaller than the current stage. So this is actually really good, by the way. At least we know what is going on with the Holy Relic Gem in PvE. Next question. There is a huge difference in capability depending on whether or not the goddess gem is acquired, but the execution of the goddess gems only applied with 100% Lux or RNG. Change the way the goddess gems are obtained, and the team response is that it is difficult to quickly respond to this change right now. However, they will update it carefully in the future. So I guess there will be more chance of getting the goddess gems. I guess they will increase the drop rate and such. We don't know. On to the third question. Fix the goddess magenta gem. Gems come out randomly from the box where it is difficult to obtain one while playing. And the team response is that for the Holy Relic Gems, we are preparing a way to collect and use Holy Relic Gem to obtain another Holy Relic Gems. Currently, it is done by dismantling the gem to obtain the imprisonment code and obtain again by combining. And they are aware that cost is expensive and procedure is bothering. If anything, they can just set up a shop that allow us to purchase the gem with the imprisonment codes or any other material that can convert to a very specific goddess gem that it can obtain. I personally find this one is way more easier, and if anything, it can be expensive, so it gotta take quite a while to collect material, and then you are guaranteed to purchase that very specific goddess magenta gems. If anything, I guess we just have to see how they are going to fix this. The next question is going to tackle the Holy Relic Gems. The question is, do you have any plan to create a ceiling for the acquiring the Holy Relic Gems? I want to have this very specific gem, but I'm in tears because I only have this 4 gems and this 1 gems. Other users have obtained more than 20 of the gems, etc. And the team responded, we have reconsidered the Holy Red Gem ceiling plan, but decide not to have it. Now, I understand why they decide not to have it, because some part of the game will have RNG and some will have guarantee. Let me give you an example. I have played this game for almost a year now, or maybe even more, and I only have obtained 1 fully crafted Archstone. However, when this Archstone was released, it was available in the, I guess, uphills, and some people that I party up with have gotten 3, 4, 5, 6 Archstone, and that is a lot, by the way. So there is a huge RNG involved. Some people will get lucky and some people don't. Will the Borota seals keep its values? Will it be used in the future? And the team respond, we don't have any plan to change Borota seal from the current enhancement system. So if you want to get level 4 to level 5, it's still 36% with a huge collection of magic stones. However, the supply will be added from the advanced content according to the goddess season, which is really nice, by the way. Are there any plan to change the number of Vivora coin needed for the weapon type chain tomes? And to respond, we will set the weapon type chain tom cheaper from the goddess system, which is really nice, by the way. After the patch, enchant needed to be on equipment separately, and the item needed for the enchant will be needed more than the usual when growing multiple character. Are there any supply plans about the item needed for the enchants? And the team quickly responds, just like any other item, they will increase the supply of the enchant jewel. Next question, how do I enhance the goddess equipment? Now the team response is that in order to enhance the goddess equipment, you need ingredient from the goddess gray and the current unveiled. So you still use the current unveiled, but you need the goddess material from the goddess gray. Show us the number of how you adjust the ingredient for the transmutator of Vivora and the goddess and demon goddess armor. And the team respond, we will inform the detailed number about the goddess system via a separate post. So looking forward to that one. Next question, where will the chain of level 4 Vivora come? Dismantle of the Vivora will be supported first. For level 4, it will be reverted back to a level 1, 70 transmutator and some amount of silver. I believe the amount of silver will be equivalent to the number that you use to kind of upgrade level 1 to level 4 Vivora, which is really nice, by the way. Instead of having 0 potential goddess equipment, you said that it does not drop the enhanced rate and does not break. Then how strong will the attack be? Their response is, we will inform the goddess equipment enchantment values or the storage value via separate posts. The next question is going to tackle the content shop point. Do you have any plan to sell the item from the content shop point that were sold for a limited time? If so, when? And the team respond, currently they don't, but they do have a plan to provide a VI event for a limited time. They also ask for our understanding that they cannot provide more than that is might reduce the effectiveness of the event. Are there any plan to release a Scout's costume at the exchange shop? The team respond, currently they do not have any plan and they are deeply sorry because you have said that there are no plan for the Scout costume in the exchange shop despite there are no Scout costume at this point. Do you have any plan to release it in the common use? And the team respond, the current exchange shop costumes are made exclusively for each class only, so it takes a lot of time to change to its common use. So this is really interesting, by the way, because a lot of endgame players only focus on costumes and mounts, and that is the whole purpose of MMORPG, by the way. Next question is going to be about the type of the weapons. Please change the trinket and the weapon type one hand, two hand regardless of types. Trinket one hand, two hand will have no difference in cost from the goddess. Third changing type will be available. Finally, I can just buy a plus 21 weapons on the market, either one hand and two hand, and convert it into the weapon that I want. This should be really interesting and should be really good in the future update. Next question, why is there a release cycle of the hairstyle so long? Yep. Here we go. The development team response is that unlike any other part, Hair Entry Savior is implemented in 2 days, so it requires a lot of movement and motion would take a long time to develop. So yeah, let's go. Let's go respond to the people who collecting hairs and costume and everything in the late game. It take quite a while. Please sell the Jester emoticon that was on sale for a period of time at the TV shop. They respond, we will update content consistently. Currently, the item entry of Savior TV shop are so terrible that it's seeing that the user rarely use the cash except for Leticia and Hair. Do you have any plan to make money with an element that does not affect the game, such as the weapon type chain tom would depend on the Vivora coin? I cried via existing attendant check. They respond, they will reconsider about the content from the TV shop. Continuously with the questions, how about selling items that does not affect the game, such as the hair accessory, something to ride on, costume, appearance chain items at the TP shop? I think selling challenge mode reset box or multi-buy token with the price proportionate to the token's cost is also fine. And they respond again, they will reconsider the contents from the TP shop. Are there any plans to let hair accessory status transfer like awakening and enchant status? They said they do not have plan for it. Next question, why is the price higher in this off-season content shop point? Then they respond, we set the price like this because if the price of the item is reduced in the off-season, it will be a loss for those who purchased the item during the season, which kind of makes sense because a lot of players who have saving on the content shop point and then they'll decide whether they want to buy extra materials and convert them into the content shop point, because usually you can only obtain 5,000 content shop points every single week, and that's probably going to take quite a while to stock up almost like 60,000 or 100,000. So there are some purchase mechanisms like, for example, a Mystic Temple, Magic Stone, or Plutonium, and convert it into the content shop point. But yeah, if anything, it would make sense that the price would be higher in the off-season content shop point. The next question is gonna be like a follow-up for the off-season content shop point. Would it be right for those who want to get ahead of the season to spend more and sell it cheaply during off-season for the latecomer so that it's easy to catch up? And a team respond, you have a point, but their planning intentions are more consistent on the concept of the compensation for those who remain to and grind hard during the season. And since it's more efficient to purchase it during the season, users split up the insufficient money during the season within a time limit, and the latecomer can do it without any time limit. So I guess that would make more sense. If this continues, the gap between the content shop will widen because latecomer won't be able to catch up. And the team responds, because of the mentioned difficulty of the latecomer, we do not have any plans to add any more elements to the content shop point. Next question is going to be about nuclear powder. That's right. Do you have any plan to make the play to consume nuclear powder, lower the minimum market price, or at least set a silver price so that we can sell it to NPC shop in town? And the team respond, we are planning to continue increase the number of play to spend the nuclear powder. And more goddess blood gems are required for high attributes. It will become more difficult for users with multiple characters. How will you resolve this problem? They said they will reconsider or consider a way to increase the supply of mystic tomes. Next question, will you increase the chance of obtaining... Another question follows with the goddess gem, but this one more focused on the Archstone. Will you increase the chance of obtaining Archstone? Entry barriers of making Caroline accessory by obtaining Archstone is way too high compared to Luciferi accessory, and their response was the total number of Archstone required are in Luciferi for a single character will be decreased when the storage system is applied. So this is really good, by the way. I actually mentioned this a while ago with one of my videos where the storage systems will reduce the cost of the Luciferi, but also also there are. Next question is going to be about the Holy Relic Gem. Please do not destroy Holy Relic Gems when transferring it. Leveling up one black gem is hard enough. How do you suppose to level everything according to the party and boss types? Since the cost of leveling up is so high, make the transfer fee free and completely destroy proof. So this is actually really interesting, by the way. And the team respond, we will try to constantly maintain the relative discounts of the enhancement fee. On to the next question. This one is going to focus on the unit inker that can be equipped with the goddess equipment. And the question was, please let the unit inker be equipped to the goddess equipment. Why are you throwing away a completely fine working inkers? And that response is really interesting. Some status of the current and unique weapon status can have a great impact on the balancing, with many current and future status balancing issues of the Vivora equipment to be dealt with. It is a bit too much for us to consider the unique weapon of the past. We will refer to the new Vivora arts and skills, etc. in the future for interesting status that are shameful to be lost. So I guess in the future, it's possible that we can have, I guess, 2 extra seconds for Rubik as the art skills, compared to the unique weapon from scale weapon. That would be really good, by the way. Then we can have 4-second Rubik with fast channel casting. To be honest, there are so many questions that related to the Holy Relic Gems. The next questions, when are you going to reduce the heavy chain system of the Holy Relic? Even within the user with the Holy Relic, there are many without the Goddess Magenta Gems. And they respond, they will gradually increase the method to obtain the Holy Relic Gems. On to the last question, will level 2, level 4 skill gem come out in the futures? Wow, this is a good question, by the way, because we have so many skill gems on the market and nobody buy them. And the team respond, in the goddess system, the skill gem equipment slot will expand to 8, 2 per part, which will increase the quantity required for each character. Therefore, it probably won't happen or happen in the distant future. Now, in my opinion, level 2 skill chain would be really good. It's like a +2 to a certain skill. And level 4 is like a Vivora. There will be some special effect with that skill. So I would say that there is a huge opportunity to see some special effects on certain skill. Like for example, if you have a Rubik skill, you need 8 Rubik skill gems to get to level 4. And that Rubik skill will have 2 extra seconds for channeling. On to the few contents category. The first question is going to be few. One of the most attractive point of Tree of Savior is still that. What do you think of the silver and item drop on the field? And they respond, it is hard to provide silver in the normal field, which has low difficulty. First, we are going to increase the usage of the badge boosted item, seasonal coin, and mercenary badge shop in order to invigorate the field contents. Also, contents related to learning new class or achieving item required for a certain mission might take on the field. Next question, the auto match challenge modes is always the same, which is monotonous. And their response, challenge modes will be changed in the future, big and small. The maps is also include these changes. However, because of the role and the concept of the challenge mode, division singularity and dimensional collapse point is rather similar at the moment. We are debating whether we put this in order first or keep as it is. Third questions. I'm curious whether if the difficulty of the uphill defense and the CPs that increased after episode 13 will be maintained. Before the update, bow and near return user could enjoy the content, but nowadays it's becoming very challenging. And they respond, before the update, they were too easy that even poor gear second accounts could clear the content and achieve the reward. As the episode reward is improved and enhancing this equipment is constantly supported by the event, we believe that the difficult level of the current version is not very difficult at all, which is true, by the way, and makes sense. On to the last question. You previously answered that there will be no longer a raid pattern that cannot be reached by invincible skill. Does this mean that we can just use the, I guess what they call the mouse click bug to clear the hard mode more important solo version? Without this, magic DPS clear cannot invade the swap patterns. And they respond, we will no longer make pattern that cannot be invaded. The swap pattern of the hard mode important solo will either be deleted or changed to be invadable in the future. Alright, going into the PvP content, the first question, you really need to solve the GTW last by increasing the server or something. If you can, how about limiting the number of people per guild and spot, about 25 to 30. Limiting the number of people per guild has received very negative feedback when it was applied to the current board style and all the contents. So if anything, I kind of understand that it can be very laggy in GTW, but at the same time, it could be very challenging depending on how many people you can participate per guild. And having 25 to 30 people per map and per guild, that there will be more guild that kind of fight against another guilds, and then there will be more alliance. I think alliance is a core part of GTW, and they should implement some kind of alliance system that allow people to participate in the GTW. But again, it would be still pretty laggy because there will be more players on the maps. I guess the only way they can resolve this is upgrade the server or somehow fix the code with the number of people in the maps. I don't know. It's really hard to tell. But if anything, I guess we just have to see how they're going to fix this issue. On to the second question. Everybody know that the rule of GTW are messed up. Why aren't you fixing it or giving it fast feedback on the matters? Do we have to wait another month until it's fixed? Sucking our fingers. What a question. And they respond, they said that they will manage the lags and the OP in GTW first and they adjust the rule. They promised the priority of this will be hires. Alright, so on to the last question. I think that Team Battle League uniform modes will be great. And they respond, we believe uniform modes is undesirable according to the example of the Crystal Mine. Next is going to be the guild contents. The first question, do you have any plan to sell guild name change voucher? And they respond, we do not have any plan to sell guild name vouchers. And the last question, oh wow, there's only 2 questions for this one. Currently, you cannot participate in the battle of the Borota and battle in the Demonic Century at the same time. In my guild, we barely participate in GTW and only can participate in the battle in the Borota layers due to the limit. Because of this, we are left behind by other guilds. Can you remove this limit? Guild with a few players wish to participate in our content. And their response is, this limit of participate clear both blockade battles is in 10 factors. It is a reward for the guild that recur guild members, increase forces, and manage the schedule of each guild member. By choosing more favorable bosses, we'd rather think medium-sized guilds with the elite members may be able to increase the ranking of one blockade battle compared to a large guild with in both battles, and then 60 people were required for the battle of the Bordelais. So it would make sense in one way or another. I think that they make it very clear between the Borta but also the Demonic Sanctuary. Next is going to be the collection, title, and adventure journal reward. This is going to be very interesting, by the way, because I think a lot of you have been asking about this. The first one is going to be, please change the compensation for the existing collection, and their response is, the development team has registered it. Second question, why are you raising the compensation for the existing collection? And the team respond, raising the collection reward means that this can become a meaningful status to collect and it might consider a must-to-do requirement when raising a characters. However, the current collection list, drop rate, spawn cycle, few monster, and compatibility are not the quality to handle this change. We might be able to consider the reorganize in the future after confirming with the current roadmap is working as intended and there's no need for additional big reorganization. So yeah, pretty much. Third question, do you have any plan to reorganize Adventure Journal reward? Adventure Journal is actually useless at the moment, and they respond, the Adventure Journal is currently in need for compensation as well as maintenance on what is being reset and what is being accumulated. We cannot state exactly what we will reorganize the Adventure Journals and achievements in the future. Last question, do you have any plan to increase the stage of the title collection bus when you merge? For the current title bus 40 maximums, also are you going to leave the status increase by default as it is, since it is very subtle? And will there be more reward according to the title stage? It might become motivation to play the game with autisms. I wonder how you think. And the team respond, dimension content is impossible with the current number of title. So we might need to increase the type of titles to make it possible. The reason why the reward according to stage cannot increase greatly is equal to the reasons for the collection. Next is going to be other category. There are so many items that are not registered on the market. Why aren't you merging the market? And they respond, we have considered the market merge, but it is hard to apply it in a high priority since it is a task with a high difficulty. Second question, I admit that the market registration time is random due to prevent RMT, but isn't 2 hours too long? And they respond, with the experience of management, it wasn't that fatal to have 2 hours registering the item on the market when the purpose was normal. It is true that it is bothersome, but the item registration times has its purpose to prevent personal market trade. Thank you for your understanding. Third questions, I think the skill effect of the healer or support class is too weak. Are there any plan to increase the skill effect? It would be better to have a fancier effect since we cannot use it again for 30 minutes once the buff skill is used. And here is the team response. As for the effect related system, the effect related system of our engine is old. Thus, we will need to take a lot of time to improve the engine in order to create a beautiful and satisfactory effects. Next question, let me say something about the effect. I hope you refer to the Ragnarok online skill you have developed in the past. Various angel from increased Magnus effect, Lex Ateriana, Magus, etc. Lex Ateriana sounds, etc. convey a clear perception of the skill currently used to not only to myself but also the party member, but to has had less intuitive tips. So they respond, we will reconsider the quality upgrade of the effects. On to the next question, do you have any plan to update the story of Orsha before the reorganized and quest event videos? And then respond, it won't be processed since the storyline after the Orsha reorganized is nearly reorganized and the episode is currently ongoing. The next question is probably one of my favorite. It said, please let us make a refreshment table in town, and they said, okay. Alright, the dissatisfaction of party requirements make only a shot in kind of resolved through the auto match, but do you still have no plan to create means to support party requirements? And they said, nope, we don't have any plan for now. Alright, so last question, are there any plan to add various instrument content like flute or air flute? And they said it won't be frequent, but we will release new instrument in the future. So that is pretty much for all this video. Thank you very much for watching. I know it's super long by the way, but I want to make sure that you guys get all the contents and possible question and related answer to Three of Saver in the future update and then roadmap for 2021. With that being said, this is Shanochi once again, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.